Hello everybody, this is Mark Hutten, and today I want to talk to those parents who have recently found out that their child has Aspergers or high-functioning autism. Oftentimes parents realize that there's something wrong with their child, but they're not really sure what it is, and at some point they get an assessment done, and the professional says, well, I've come to the conclusion that your child has Aspergers or high-functioning autism, and usually parents are either semi-shocked or they're relieved to know that there's a name attached to their child's behavior. So in any event, regardless of your response to discovering that your child has this diagnosis, we're going to talk briefly about some things that you can expect. There are basically 6 areas of difficulty associated with Asperger's, and you'll need to consider all of these, and we'll look at each one in turn here. Sensory sensitivities. Many Asperger's children have sensory issues. These can occur in one or all of the senses, including sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. The degree of difficulty varies from one child to the next. Most frequently, the child will perceive ordinary sensations as quite intense, or may even be underreactive to a sensation. Often, the challenge in this area will be to determine if the child's response to a sensation is actually a sensory reaction, or if it is a learned behavior driven mainly by rigidity and anxiety. Cognitive issues. Mind blindness, or the inability to make inferences about what another person is thinking, is a core challenge for those with Asperger's. Because of mind blindness, the child may have difficulty empathizing with others and will often say what he thinks without considering the other person's feelings. The child will often assume that everyone is thinking the same thing that he is. For the Asperger's child, the world exists not in shades of gray, but only in black and white. This rigidity in thought, or lack of cognitive flexibility, interferes with problem-solving, mental planning, impulse control, flexibility in thoughts and actions, and the ability to stay focused on a task until completion. The rigidity also makes it difficult for an Asperger's child to engage in imaginative play. His interest in play materials, themes, and choices will be narrow, and he will attempt to control the play situation. Motor clumsiness. Many children with Asperger's have difficulty with both gross and fine motor skills. The difficulty is often not just the task itself, but the motor planning involved in completing the task. Typical difficulties include handwriting, riding a bike, and playing different ball games, for example, baseball, kickball, basketball, and so on. Another characteristic of Asperger's children that parents need to be aware of is that these children have a narrow range of interest and also an insistence on set routines. Due to the Asperger's child's anxiety, his interactions will be ruled by rigidity and obsessions that transitions and changes can cause. Generally, he will have few interests, but those interests will often dominate. The need for structure and routine will be most important. Your child may develop his own rules to live by that barely coincide with the rest of society's rules. Impairment in language skills. Children with Asperger's have very specific problems with language, especially with pragmatic use of language, which is the social aspect. Asperger's kids see language as a way to share facts and information, and not so much as a way to share thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The child will display difficulty in many areas of a conversation, for example, processing verbal information, initiation, maintenance, ending a conversation, topic appropriateness, sustaining attention during the conversation, and taking turns in a conversation. Conversations may often appear scripted or ritualistic. In other words, it's almost as if the child is using dialogue from a TV show or a movie. They may also have difficulty problem-solving, analyzing, or synthesizing information and understanding language beyond the literal level. And the last characteristic we'll look at is difficulty with reciprocal social interactions. Children with Asperger's display varying difficulties with interacting with others. Some of these children have no desire to interact, while others simply don't know how. More specifically, they don't comprehend the give-and-take nature of social interactions. For example, they may want to lecture you about Civil War facts or about the history of the Titanic, or they may leave the room in the midst of playing with another child. Some of these children don't comprehend the verbal and nonverbal cues used to further the understanding between two people in a typical social interaction. These include eye contact, facial expressions, body language, conversational turn-taking, perspective-taking, and matching conversational and nonverbal responses to the interaction. We've looked at the 6 areas of difficulty associated with Asperger's and high-functioning autism, which is important information for parents with a newly diagnosed son or daughter.